a lot of things you can give up for Jesus. And I'm glad to give up a lot of the things from my own culture because they're not important. When I first came here, there was a book market, open street market that happened every weekend. And it was a place where all the sort of the fringe people of society, leftists, communists and stuff would go out there with their books. And that was about the only place then that we could do things and be tolerated. Because those people were anyways fringe people of society, so they saw us as the same, and they would let us set up a table there and just give out books and things like that. But the big change was about 11 years ago when the government changed the penal code in Turkey and made it a crime to prevent people from spreading their faith. And when we heard that, we're like, could this be true? I mean, that's a stronger religious freedom law than any place even in Europe or in the Americas. So me and a bunch of friends of ours, we said, we need to go out and see if they're actually mean what they say. So we brought in a street evangelist to teach us how to do street evangelism. We just started doing it. And a lot of people said, when they saw us doing that, they said, you're not going to do this. You're not going to last a few months. You're going to get kicked out. Well, over 10 years have passed, and we've been doing it almost weekly for 10 years. You do not need to criticize the dominant religion here. When they hear it from a foreigner, from a Christian background foreigner, it just arouses all their nationalistic passions. Like they get in defensive mode. So you don't, anyways, the Bible doesn't command us to have to attack other religions. We have to proclaim the good news. To avoid attacking and criticizing and just focus on Jesus. That doesn't mean you don't say the truth. Don't water down the message. And answer their questions honestly. God's alive, and the New Testament is real, and the Holy Spirit is at work today, unquestionably. And some people laugh and say I'm silly, but I recommend to everyone if they get a chance to spend time in jail for Jesus, because it's you see God at work there like nowhere else. And you know, some people would say, oh, whatever happened to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? They got thrown in the fiery furnace. But Jesus was in the furnace. So I actually, if Jesus is in the furnace, that's where I want to be. And there was a lot of crazy things that went on there in the jail there. There was the ISIS fighters are right there sleeping in the same room there with me. And yet, you know, I just felt completely protected. And you sense God at work. And I was very glad that people were praying for me, and I sensed and felt those prayers. But I was very happy there. I mean, don't anyone think that I was in there, oh, I can't wait to get out. It was evangelism heaven. I mean, I just share with all these people all the time. I've met other people in the Muslim world who have spent time in jail or had similar situations, and almost all of them say the same thing. They don't complain about the difficulties because it's just too exciting. You see God at work doing amazing things, lives being changed, people getting saved. And that's just like what Jesus said. Those who want to save their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake in the gospel will save it. It's the best life imaginable. Turkey has become much more prosperous economically. They are much more connected to the world digitally. They're very much into the internet and smartphones and all that. Islam has been growing though too. There's polarization happening in Turkey right now where people are becoming either more religious or much more anti-religious. And so this has its dangers but also its opportunities, because there's people now who are considering the claims of Jesus who wouldn't have even thought of thinking about it 15 years ago. They're curious who you are, why you're here. But a common objection will be, you know, the Bible's been changed, or more and more nowadays, they really like talking about conspiracy theories, and you're really working for the CIA, and you're here to do, you know, pre-colonialism and things like that. So you have to deal with that sort of stuff. Make sure you're walking with Jesus, you're on fire for Him, and you're living a life worthy of Him. And as that happens, then the desire to see other people come to know Him will just naturally flow out of that. And then the next thing you should do preparation-wise is start reaching out to people wherever you're at. And you may not live in a Muslim country, but you can try and reach out to people whatever place you happen to be in. And of course, if there's Muslims in your city or in your area, try to reach out to them, get involved in outreach, because that definitely is the need of the hour here, is people who have experience in doing outreach and are not afraid to do it, and will just go out there and reach, because there's so many people who don't know about Jesus here, and there is so much freedom to do it right now, and so many people are open to talk about things and are happy to talk about these things. If only we had more people to go and tell them. The best thing is to work together with the church, in the sense that you talk with the leaders. If you're going to do ministry in a certain place or a city, talk with the churches there, and as much as possible try to do what you're going to do in partnership with that church. And we've done many outreaches where we do a series of evangelistic events at that church building during that week, and because we have this team, we have all this manpower, we're able to go out and, as it were, put the church on the map. Many people in the city didn't even know there's a church there, and we go and help to make it known. Of course, there's plenty of places in Turkey where there's no church at all, and we need teams to just go out in those places and do outreach. And again, in those cases, you talk with people who've got experience in doing this to make sure you get good training, so you don't make silly mistakes. One big issue that anyone coming to Turkey needs to understand is that the reactions that a foreigner gets when they do evangelism are quite different from the reactions that a Muslim background believer gets when he does the same thing. So it's a lot more risky for them. So you have to be careful not to judge Turkish believers when they maybe won't do everything exactly the way you do. And I think just you have to be patient. You need to listen to the church leaders and the pastors, and hear their concerns in their heart, and try and be as respectful as possible, but also try to bless their churches, because at the same time, the churches here want to grow. There are just a lot of people who are curious, they're open, and they're not afraid to talk about religious things. And yet, sadly, so many of us come from societies where we assume people already know all this stuff, or they're not interested, so we don't even try to sort of make an effort to do it. But Turkey is very different, and people are very curious, and not all obviously, but you'll have these so common questions that people ask you, like, how are you, where are you from, why are you here? As a Christian, or as someone who wants to see the gospel spread in this country, you should think, how can I answer those questions in a way that's going to open up opportunities about Jesus? Very, very good question. The most important one, I think, is that you need to be who you are, because a lot of people feel they have to be something else. You should do what you feel God calling you to do, and trust Him that He will help make a way for it to happen. That doesn't mean that you may have a vocational job or something like that, but along with that, you have to be honest about who you are with the people you live here, because the people who don't make it long here in missions are those who for a long time try to keep up these two personalities. Like, I'm this person to the outward world who prays for me and supports me. I'm a completely different person to all my neighbors. That will just create inner and psychological stress that will wear you out. The Turkish church is small, and we want to see it grow and get a lot bigger. When you compare Turkey and Iran, Iran has at least 500,000. Turkey has only 5,000. With Islam growing so strong here, and so many people happy with the current government and all that stuff, it's very tempting for the church to cower in fear and say, oh boy, we're going to be attacked. We're going to be the scapegoat if things go bad. And that, you don't learn that way of thinking by reading the New Testament. You learn that way of thinking by spending too much time looking at the news and all the things around you that scare you. And so the prayer request is, pray that the Turkish church will listen to God through His Word, be filled with His Spirit, and have that perfect love that drives out fear. A love not just for themselves, but for their lost fellow countrymen, so many of whom don't know Jesus, and that would spill out into all sorts of outreach everywhere. The need is great. The Muslim world needs more people. The best time is to come now. Don't wait. The needs are great here. Please come. Don't let any excuse get in the way.